praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Kakadash, and your Heavenly Father, which you name is Yahweh, and his only begotten Son, Ba'Shem. In the name of Hamashiach Habashai, those are the true names that ancient Paleo Hebrew, the Lashka tongue, and I say Barakadon to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Wa'akbaf, and I say Shalom. And this is a sit down lesson number 1 as of April the 19th, 2026, on this Sunday afternoon. And the title of this lesson is going to be Every Spirits That Are Cleared for Vengeance, and that's what we'll be seeing in these times. So, this is the book of Ecclesiasticus Chapter 39, verse 28. It says, "There be spirits that are created for vengeance, within their fear they also scopes and time, piece of rifle that made it right, piece of rifle that made it by Yahweh Shemashai." And you read the book of Isaiah 45, verse 7. I form the light, I create darkness, I create peace. Yahweh does all these things. Ecclesiasticus 12, verse 14 is well too. That's our reference to scripture. So I'm bring out that news article of that story took place down there in what's that, Louisiana? Yeah, Louisiana. That story took place down there. Yep, so I'm bringing out from NBC News. Yeah, because when I heard about this story, this was crazy. I was like 8 children were unalive by their own father. I was like, that's crazy. So this is an example of that. We're going to see a lot of spirits that are, spirits created for vengeance. And that's what we're seeing. And this is a news article from NBC News. It says 8 children were unalive in a Louisiana shooting. Alleged gunman who related and some of the children was unalive after a vehicle chase, according to the police. It says 8 children who ranged from 1 to 14 years old were unalive in a mass shooting in Louisiana on Sunday. It says officials with the police department responded to the 300 block of West 79th Street just at 6 a.m. following reports of a domestic disturbance. It says police spokesperson Christopher Morgan described the crime scene as an extensive span of 2 homes in the area in the 3rd and Harrison Street nearby. We have three different scenes. The shooting itself occurred just down the road over there, over 300 of the West Block 79th, where the Barberton said the news brief. There also another shooting related to this on the Harrison Street, and there adjacent, if I pronounce that right. It says residents on the West 79th were one of the victims ran to after the shooting. It says 10 victims were all shot. Police said not share any information on the 2 who survived. Pictures from the scene show a large police response. The individual responsible for one leaving the scene performing a carjacking right in the close proximity on the corner of 179th and Linwood, which point to the time that the Shreveport police patrols right down there in Louisiana. It says officials got behind the vehicle in a chase incident. One of them says the officers shot to kill the suspect during the chase in the Marshall Parish. Welcome says, "We do believe him to be one individual that fired shots at these locations." Here about them said, "Who's there to respond any information about the suspect?" The bargain says that some of the children in the home were descendants. A motive for the shooting is not clear at this moment. Mac London, 70 who lives in the same block, said he didn't hear any gunfires and learned of the killings from the neighbors as stepped outside around 7 a.m. closed the gate. By then, he said the streets was flooded with the police and the ambulance with the block shut down on Lookers Galley. It says London, who lived there since 1991, says the violence like this unheard of in the neighborhood. Nothing like this never happened on the street. He said it was bad. It says IHATE that it happened to those kids. It says Shreveport native Tom actually also spoke at the briefing, said that the community is in a tragedy situation, maybe the worst tragic situation we have ever had in the Sheriff Report right down in Louisiana. He said that, so right now we are going to process the information that good hands. It says Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry said he is heartbroken over this horrific situation. And it says that for local law enforcement and first responders, the House Speaker Mike Johnson, who represents Shreveport almost 10 years, called the incident heartbreaking and tragic. That his team is in touch with the local police. We are holding the victims and their families and loved ones and the Shreveport community in our thoughts and prayers. It says during the incredible difficult time, Johnson said on X, an investigation is ongoing on shootings. Once he had 8 children were unalive, potentially by their father, and he was some kin to them, according to the news article. So these are signs that we're going to see a lot of spirits create for vengeance. This is Ecclesiasticus.
You want some of your taters now, you gonna wait later on.
Yeah, I guess.
You want some of the pork chop now, you gonna wait later on.
No, wait.
Later on?
No, I want something else.
Okay, you want it now?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you got the bowl?
Yeah, I got both.
Tell you.
All right. Slovakia. Slovakia. Yeah, it's the book of Matthew, it's the 24th chapter. Yeah, this is the Gospel of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 12. Matthew 24 verse 12, it says, because iniquity shall abound, many shall ask gold. Right. So iniquity is going to abound. That's what we see in our world today. And on top of that, it's going to be a lot of spirit created for vengeance. So that's what we're seeing. That brought up that Ecclesiasticus 39 and verse 28. And this is the book of 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. It's the book of 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. That's 1 John. This is 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. It says 1 John 3 and verse 4. This is a book of 1 John chapter 3 verse 4. Right, this is the Apostle John. It said, whosoever commits sin is transgress also the law. For sin is transgress the law. Right, for sin is transgress the law. So that's what we see in these times. So spirit created for vengeance, evil is on particular parts of man, which we see in the world today. So, that was a kind of messed up story that happened over there, down there in Superior Port, Louisiana, of that guy had unalive his 4 children. His 8 children. This is Genesis chapter 6 verse 5. It says, and Yahweh saw that wickedness of man was great on the earth, that every imagination of the thought of his heart was only evil continuously. Right, and that's what we're seeing. So evil heart and thoughts for man was only evil continuously. And we're in those days once again. And this is a book of 2 Timothy. Right, this is the Apostle Paul mentioned to Timothy, because he said also in the latter days, Paris time should come. We see signs of it. And this is the book of 2 Timothy, chapter 3, verse 1. This know also that in the last days, perilous times should come. Right, so also in the latter days, perilous times should come. We see signs of it. So we're going to see the love and meaning of life and cold. We're going to see lawlessness, iniquities abound, and spirit created for vengeance. And this is the book of Matthew, the 10th chapter. Because a man is going to be an enemy of his own household. And that's what we're seeing. And this is Matthew chapter 10 and verse 34. This is Matthew chapter 10 and verse 34. It says, think not that I come. It says, think not that I come to send peace on earth. I come not to send peace but a sword. Right, so Yahushua says, come not to send a sword. Matthew 10 and verse 35. It says, for I am come to set a man a barrier against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. Right, that's what we're seeing among these nations, especially over here in the verse about Babylon. We're going to see that around the world as well too. This is verse 36. It says, this is the book of Matthew, chapter 10, verse 36. It says, and a man's foe should be of his own household. Right, so a man's foe should be of his own household. And as we're saying, we had some type of family dispute. This guy was arguing with his wife or something like that, or his girlfriend or his ex or something like that. So he had kids by her, and then he had unalive like 8 of his kids. And then he had, I think it was like 2 or 3 separate locations that he went to, unalive 8 of his kids. And I believe they had shot and killed the suspect back on the scene because he had stolen the car and he had drove off from the scene. And this was like early, like 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock this morning down there in Louisiana. So these are signs that you're going to see the love and living of life code. So a man should be a foe within his own household. So we'll bring out another precept. This is the book of Luke 12 and verse 51. Yeah, this is the Gospel of Luke 12 and verse 51. Suppose ye that I come to give peace on earth, I tell you, neighbor, right division. Right, we see a division among the nations. Verse 52, it says, for from henceforth there should be 5 in one house divided, 3 against 2, 2 against 3. Right, so 3 against 2, 2 against 3. And the other five, you got five in one house divided, three against two, 10 to three, and that's what we're seeing. So more division between the family members in their own household, which we're seeing. It's another one to increase. And this is the book of Luke 12, verse 53. The father should be divided against the son. I remember that story was like a couple months ago, like 2.5 months ago. He had his 12-year-old son arguing with his father because he took his Nintendo Switch away from him. And then he had unalived him because he took his Nintendo Switch from him. So we're going to be seeing, I mean, this is typical, but we're going to be seeing this increasing more and more. Because this is what Yahushua spoke about, these signs are going to occur. And so a man with his own household should go against one another. And people in their own nation with their own household going to be having some type of tension hostilities, which is going to continue to increase these times. And it's going to lead to spirit created for vengeance. So that's what we're seeing. This is Luke 12, verse 53. It said the father shall be divided against the son, right? Which I mentioned that story a couple months ago. It says a father shall be divided against the son, and the son against the father, the mother against the daughter, and the daughter against the mother, and the mother-in-law against the daughter-in-law, and the daughter-in-law against the mother-in-law. So you're going to see that as well too. Luke 12, verse 54. And he say also to the people, when you see a cloud rise westward, where he say they're coming, a shower, so it is. Luke 12, verse 55. And when you see the south wind blow you say that he can come to pass. In verse 56, it says, you hypocrites, you discern the face of the sky and of the earth, perhaps you do not discern the times. Right, so we are in, we're in the signs of the times. And that's why we thank the Heavenly Father for putting the spirit of us, elders and apostles behind him, and like-minded brothers and sisters that shows the ways of the Heavenly Father. So we got son, I want to check out shy, to discern the times. Because we're definitely going to be seeing these more signs of people having animosity towards each other within their own household, or they might go through a custody battle, or they might go through some problems within their own household, or they might go through some financial battles, whatever the case may be. So this is going to be increasing more and more these times. So we get back to that Ecclesiasticus 39, verse 28. It says there be spirits that are created for vengeance, right? So the spirits are created for vengeance with that. And there be spirits that are created for vengeance. It says, which in their feet they also stroke, sometimes strokes a piece of wrath in their native. Right, that's in Isaiah 45, verse 7. Bring that out. And this is the prophet Isaiah, chapter 45. Because we know the Heavenly Father, he's a righteous, balanced power. He's a just, balanced power. And so nobody's not exempt from judgment from Yahweh Shai. This is Isaiah chapter 45, verse 7. It says, I form the light, I create darkness, I create peace, I create evil, I Yahweh, which the Heavenly Father does all these things. Right, so the Heavenly Father, he does all these things. And this is the book of Ecclesiasticus. Yeah, book of Ecclesiasticus 12, verse 14. It says, for Yahweh should bring every work to judgment, and every secret thing, whether good or evil. Right, so the Heavenly Father bring it forth to judgment, and even if it's secret, whether it's good or evil, because he's a righteous, balanced power. Right. This is the book of Amos, the 3rd chapter. Just bringing out precepts along the way. And this is the book of Amos, chapter 3. This is the book of Amos. Yeah, this is Amos chapter 3 and verse 6. It says, shall they trumpet be blown in the city, and the people be not afraid? Shall be evil in the city, and Yahweh has not done it? So, all these war, evil, and pestilence, many are wise and cold, all of such iniquity is going to continue to ramp up and increasing. And definitely going to be seeing a lot of spirit created for vengeance. And so a man should be a fool within his own household. And that was a prime example that took place down there in Louisiana. That guy had unalived his 8 family members, his kids. Now potentially, I don't know if he might did that to his wife as well too. Potentially, I'm not for sure. But he did have unalive 8. He had unalive 8 of his kids. I meant to say Salaki. Yep. So with that, go ahead and close it out. That was the title of the outside lesson of Ecclesiasticus chapter 39, verse 28. Because we're going to see a lot of spirit created for vengeance. So this was just a sit down lesson number 1 as of April the 18th, 2026. On this is April the 18th. I meant to say April the 19th, 2026, on this Sunday. Yep, on this Sunday afternoon. So as I mentioned again, it's going to be a lot of spirit created for vengeance. As an incident took place down there in Louisiana, 8 people were unalive, those kids, including the suspect. So we're going to be seeing a love of many, I suppose, spirit created for vengeance. And a man should be at with us. A man should be any with his own household. So we're going to see that a lot these other times. So with that, I would like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Kwakadash, and the Heavenly Father. The true name is Yahweh, and his unbegotten Son, Ba'ashem, in the name of Mashiach Shai. Those are the true names in the ancient Paleo Hebrew, Balash Kadash, Holy Tongue. And I say Barak Thun to the elders and apostles, Wa'akim, Ba'akwa. For next time, I will say Queen Yasharala, and above all, Shalom.